exposed. 7 haunted encounters with sinister beasts that will chill you to the bone. Lisa rushed down the cracked pavement, the dim streetlights flickering above like dying fireflies. The once thriving suburb felt heavy with dread. Whispers of missing pets, snatched from backyards, clung to the night air. Shadows danced in her peripheral vision, and every rustle sent needles of fear prickling down her spine. As she approached the abandoned school, a shudder ran through her. Graffiti marred the crumbling walls, creatures twisted in nightmarish forms, eyes wide and accusatory. They seemed to leer as if they knew secrets better left unearthed. Just kids, Lisa muttered, forcing her weariness to walk on. Yet the cool night sent a deep chill through her, twisting her thoughts back to her grandmother's tales. Legendary beasts lurking in the dimness. "Mommy, there's someone," Ellie squeaked one evening, pointing. Lisa barely acknowledged her daughter's fears, brushing it off as simple imagination. But the way Ellie's eyes widened with terror pierced Lisa's heart, and she felt a knot growing tighter in her stomach. Just yesterday, Jake had disappeared for what felt like an eternity, only to come bouncing back with shadows processing behind him. But when Lisa got a knock at the door the following week, panic set in. A man, dressed in a dark jacket, stood before her with a badge that felt more like a threat than reassurance. "Local disturbances," he stated flatly, his eyes like 2 coal pits. She tightened her grip on the door. Something about his invasive questions made her uneasy. What did he know that she didn't? "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Lisa felt like the walls were closing in, each tick of the clock echoing the rising tension. The stories about the neighborhood's dark secrets burrowed into her thoughts. Even friendly faces wore masks concealing hidden agendas. Every smile from Mrs. Green next door cooled her blood. What if the missing pets were only the beginning? Her pulse quickened as she stood by the window, peering into the dark night. What was lurking just beyond the line of trees? Was Ellie right? Could there be something supernatural watching them? Tears threatened to spill, but she held herself together at least for the kids' sake. The last glimmers of light faded quickly, the oppressive grip of darkness creeping closer. Suddenly, a quiet rustle emerged from the edge of their yard. Her heart raced, breath caught in a lurch. There, barely visible, was a tall figure, lurking and waiting. Was it just a trick of her mind, or had the tales become too real? Panic coursed through her veins as the tension shattered the stillness. With every tick of the clock, Lisa knew the truth was hiding in plain sight, skirting just beyond reach. The familiar comfort of home felt like a trap now. What was out there? Who was watching her family? The night hung thick with questions as she stood frozen, straining to spot the fleeting shadow beyond the trees. Someone or something had been watching. What if it wasn't just shadows she needed to fear? The darkness was alive, and it was hungry. The air tightened like a noose around Lisa. Each breath felt heavier, weighed down by an instinctual dread that pulled her deeper into the shadows of the unknown. The figure remained still, its outline stretching unnaturally against the dim glow of the streetlight, like a thin, dark tower reaching toward the sky. "Ellie, stay close," she whispered, feeling the words stick in her throat. Ellie's small body pressed against her side, quivering ever so slightly. The child's wide eyes were glued to the darkness, sensing something in the air that Lisa couldn't pinpoint. The rustling crescendoed, drawing nearer. Panic flashed across Lisa's face as she tried to muster the courage to move, but her feet felt glued to the floor. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, yet her curiosity tugged her back. What could it be? Suddenly, the figure took a step forward and then another. With each movement, the shape unfurled into something more monstrous. Lisa finally caught a glimpse. A faint glister of eyes, glittering like wet stones, and rows of jagged teeth glinting in the scarce light. The force of terror gripped her like icy fingers. Mommy Ellie's voice hardly rose above a whisper. Shoo. Lisa's heart hammered loudly in her chest, drowning out any logical thought. She pulled Ellie behind her, shielding her, but fear pooled in her stomach. Whatever that thing was, it felt hungry, it felt alive. Without thinking, Lisa stepped backward, dragging Ellie with her toward the house. They stumbled over a garden gnome, and the porcelain cracked against the pavement, a sharp reminder of the reality that was crumbling around them. The figure paused, a head tilted, almost inquisitive. Time slowed as Lisa grabbed at the door handle, fumbling, the wood feeling foreign under her sweaty palm. With one frantic tug, she swung the door open, pushing Ellie inside. Go, go, she cried, forcing her to the safety of the dim hallway. But a guttural growl reverberated through the night as the figure approached the porch. Lisa shoved the door closed, her breath quickening as she slammed the lock down. What was it? What in the world had come for them? The growl resonated again, louder, shaking the door frame like an angry storm. Frantically, Lisa scanned her surroundings. The living room felt suffocating, walls closing in with portraits of smiling faces. They didn't know about the dark watchfulness lurking outside. They didn't know the truth. Mommy Ellie whimpered as she looked up, her small hand trembling in Lisa's grip. No, Lisa hissed, her voice barely above a whisper. We can't let it know we're here. She pressed her back against the door, the rough wood biting into her skin. Each thud against the door sent ripples of fear coursing through her. And then silence. The absence of sound felt deafening, stretching between them like a taut wire ready to snap. Maybe it went away, Ellie murmured, hope flickering in her voice. But Lisa knew better. The beast was still out there, stalking them, waiting for the inevitable moment when fear would overwhelm her. Suddenly, a sharp knock shattered the quiet, echoing through the house like a gunshot. It was no longer a gentle reminder. It was a demand. Open the door. A voice boomed, distorted and hollow, slicing through the darkness. Lisa jolted, her heart leaping into her throat. Open the door, let me in. Was this the beast? Another nightmare come to claim them? Or was it something far worse? The pounding resumed, each knock punctuated by the weight of Lisa's racing thoughts. In the back of her mind, she could hear her grandmother's voice, warning her about the dangers that linger just beyond the threshold. As anxiety clawed at her insides, one thought screamed louder than the rest. Who was truly out there? Lisa clutched Ellie tight, the weight of the unknown pressing heavily on her shoulders. Shadows flitted across the walls, seeming to close in faster now, as if they were alive. The door could only hold for so long, and still, the voice demanded, open the door. What if this was just the beginning? What else was waiting for them in the darkness? The silence that followed the last knock was suffocating. Lisa's breath quickened, her mind racing through terrifying possibilities. What could be out there, lurking just beyond the door? She pressed her back harder against the wood, feeling its rough surface bite into her skin. She could hear Ellie's small, shaky breaths beside her, mirroring her own frantic heartbeat. Mommy? Ellie's voice trembled, a soft echo of fear that sent chills down Lisa's spine. Hush, just a little longer, Lisa urged, her throat dry and scratchy. Her mind debated whether to run or stay, but every ounce of instinct told her that moving would be unwise. The voice from outside was persistent, a low rumble melding with the growl that had come before. Open the door. Let me in. It repeated, this time with a hint of something more sinister. There was no warmth, no humanity in those words. They filled Lisa with dread. Ellie tugged at her sleeve. But what if it needs help? Lisa's blood ran cold. We can't help it, her words hung heavy in the air. We don't even know what it is. But Ellie's little heart already longed for the idea of saving something, even if it meant risking their lives. In that moment, fear and maternal instinct clashed in Lisa's mind like two raging storms. Open the door. The voice rose, booming, shaking the walls of their home. It pounded against the door again, a relentless percussion that began to feel like an entrance into the very marrow of her bones. Despair crept in. Lisa was losing control. What if it knew they were inside? Pressing her ear against the door, she strained to hear over the chaos of her pulsing heart. The voice shifted into a low hum, filling the air with a sickening melody. It was almost soothing, yet tainted with something foul, something that stirred something primal inside her. "Ellie, stay behind me," Lisa whispered, trying to regain her composure. She reached for the lamp resting on the end table, holding it like a weapon. She could feel the chill in the air, a premonition that something was drawing near, circling them. Then came the scratching. It was soft at first, like tiny claws dragging against the surface of the door. Lisa's breath hitched as dread pooled in her stomach. With each scrape, a sickening realization laced her thoughts. It was testing the barrier, probing for weakness. "Mommy!" Ellie whimpered louder this time, her tiny frame quaking against her side. "Shut your eyes," Lisa said, trying to sound more resolute than she felt. She squeezed Ellie tight, wishing she could shield her from whatever nightmare was brewing outside. In that moment, the scratching intensified, a frenzy that sent her pulse racing. The door wobbled against Lisa's back, splintering under the strain. Fear clawed at her throat, threatening to choke her. "Let me in. I can help you." The voice transformed, a deceptive sweetness infiltrating the tension. It wasn't just a demand anymore. It was an invitation, beckoning them to surrender. "Mommy, it sounds nice," Ellie murmured, her innocence almost shattering Lisa's resolve. "No, it's lying," Lisa hissed, panic slicing through her voice. With a sudden bang, the door rattled furiously, as if something beyond had decided it was done waiting. The lock creaked under strain, and as Lisa tightened her grip on Ellie, she felt an overwhelming rush of terror, and then silence again. A heavy, expectant stillness settled like a shroud. "What's happening?" Ellie asked, her voice barely a whisper, before Lisa could respond. The faint sound of small gnarled fingers scratching began again, creeping up from the base of the door to the doorknob. Something was climbing, something grotesque and hungry. Then, just as quickly, the scratching ceased, replaced by a low, dripping sound. "What?" Lisa began, but the fear froze her words. Dread shot through her at the thought of what might lie on the other side. And then she heard it, the unmistakable sound of something wet hitting the floor. "Mommy!" Ellie's voice trembled as the reality of the moment crashed over them both like a wave. Lisa stole a glance at the door, her pulse hammering in her ears. That wasn't just water. What had come for them? What horror was lurking just out of reach? The air thickened again, choked with an impending dread. Waiting, and then came a whisper slithering through the crack below the door. A sound so soft and intimate it chilled Lisa to her core. Open what was out there now? What else was waiting to be unleashed? The silence stretched on, heavy and suffocating. Lisa could hardly breathe, her heart pounding like a war drum. The faint sound of dripping continued, an ominous reminder of whatever was on the other side. Ellie huddled closer, her soft whimpers practically splitting Lisa's heart in two. "Please. It will be okay, honey," Lisa whispered, though the shaky quaver in her voice betrayed her. Her knuckles turned white, gripping the lamp with a desperation that felt almost futile. "Mommy, I don't like this," Ellie stuttered, her innocence enveloping Lisa's resolve in a cloak of dread. A moment passed, and in the tense stillness, another sound emerged, a low gurgle, like choking laughter. It crawled beneath Lisa's skin, prickling her nerves. "Who are you?" Lisa shouted, forcing her voice to sound angry instead of terrified. The response was a pause, just a heartbeat, and then the voice returned, softer this time, like a serpent whispering sweet poison. "Open and you'll be free." Lisa's stomach twisted. She felt panic flare and then crash, leaving only an icy emptiness. Would Ellie be free? Or would they both be trapped forever in this nightmare? Ignoring her instincts, she leaned closer to the door. "What do you want?" There was no reply, just more sweet laughter, intermingled with that sickening dripping. The sound seeped into the cracks of her mind, seeping past her defenses. "Mommy, I'm scared." Ellie's fingers curled around Lisa's, her tiny grip illustrating just how much strength was slipping away. Lisa swallowed hard, attempting to conjure courage. Her eyes darted to the lamp. A weapon. Felt like more of a joke now. She needed something sharper. Something that could pierce the darkness. "Stay here, Ellie. I'll check the back." But as she turned, that whisper returned, and it slithered like smoke around her ankles. "No, stay. Ben. No." She pulled Ellie closer. "No one is coming in." Her heart raced faster as the voice morphed into a chorus of moans. It sounded like 100 lost souls pressed against the door, begging for release. Thin fingers curled against the door, nails scraping and pressing, leaving trails of something dark that glistened beneath the dim light. Lisa's heart raced, pumping adrenaline through her veins as she stepped back, dragging Ellie with her. The laughter grew louder, rising and weaving into a haunting melody that echoed against the walls. "You're all alone, Lisa." They were not alone. A quick glance to the window revealed an eerie stillness outside. Shadows danced in the moonlight, but they were just shadows, weren't they? Nothing more than tricks of the light. As she turned back to face the door, the scratching intensified and then transformed into a relentless pounding, almost as if some things were desperate to be freed. "Mommy, I can hear it," Ellie whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Shoo!" Confusion swirled inside Lisa. Should she try to escape, or simply weather the storm? Then a loud crack split the air. The door quaked violently, stripping away any semblance of safety. Desperation flooded Lisa, urging her feet to move, to act. "Ellie, we need to go now," she yelled, adrenaline sharpening her senses. Throwing the lamp aside, she rushed toward the back door, nearly stumbling over her own feet. But just as they reached for the knob, a deafening crash erupted from the front door, slamming inward in a surge of splintering wood and shrieking darkness. In that instant, the world blurred. Lisa turned instinctively to shield Ellie, but there was no sound, only a suffocating blanket of darkness eclipsing everything. "Mommy!" And with that, the blackness swallowed them whole. What had breached the holy sanctuary of their home? What horrors awaited them within the depths of that looming blackness? Lisa gasped. The breath knocked sharply from her lungs as the darkness enveloped them. It pressed in from all sides, thick and oppressive, wrapping around Ellie and her like a suffocating shroud. She strained to see, to find something familiar amid the shadows, but the veil of night was complete. "Mommy?" Ellie's voice, small and fragile, floated through the air like a lost wisp. "I can't see you, I'm right here." "Ellie," Lisa managed, her heart pounding like an echo through the void. She tightened her grip on her daughter's hand, the small fingers trembling in her palm. Felt cold, almost unnatural. "We'll figure this out. We just need to stay calm." But calm left her fast the moment a shuffling sound broke the silence. A raspy breath as if something drew nearer. Lisa ducked low, instinctively shielding Ellie as they inched backward, feeling their way across the floor. Her heart raced with each sound, the scratching, the eerie giggle that echoed, a twisted song mocking her. "Please, let us go," she pleaded into the thick blackness, hoping that some shred of humanity lingered in whatever harbored the darkness. The only reply was the laughter, sharper now, echoing like nails on a chalkboard. Then she felt a shift beside her, a cold draft against her cheek, and Lisa's blood ran cold. "Ellie?" she whispered, panic threading through her. She turned to where Ellie had been, but the haze was impenetrable. "Mommy!" The voice came from somewhere deeper within the shadows, distant and echoing, unmoored. Lisa's breath hitched. She felt herself increasingly adrift, her heart slackening in terror. "Stay where you are," she shouted, forcing her voice to break through her fear. "I'm coming to you." Inch by cautious inch, she turned, trying to trace her own movements back to the sound. Her hands outstretched, fingers brushing against the cool, damp walls. The dripping had transformed into soft splashes, something grotesque and foul seeping into her skin. She shook her head, suppressing the urge to retch. "Ellie!" Hold on. She stumbled again, her foot catching on something soft and yielding. A rush of panic surged as she knelt, hands exploring the floor frantically as she whispered, "Please, please." She found it, something squirming beneath her touch. With trembling hands, she tugged back the veil of darkness. And as she did, a flash of pale skin and gleaming eyes met her gaze. Her breath hitched, and she recoiled, thrusting both her hands forward as she prepared for the worst. "Stay away from her," she screamed, the sound tearing from her throat like a wild animal. There was only silence. Then, a hiss, like air escaping a balloon, followed by that low, gurgling laughter. The oppressive dark shifted once more, beginning to retract just slightly. "Open up, and everything can be fixed." Lisa felt the weight of those words like a leaden weight in her stomach. "I want to let you take her." In that moment, she turned, ready to shove away the fear and reach for her daughter. But the laughter sharpened, becoming a cacophony of voices that swirled around them, slicing into her very soul. And then, she saw them glowing eyes reflecting the shadows, crawling towards her from all corners, whispering promises of despair. Nothing was just a shadow anymore. "Mommy?" Ellie's voice trembled, echoed by the growing whimper of fear around her. "I am so scared." The weight of dread settled like iron on Lisa's chest. There was no choice but to face this horror. Grabbing Ellie's hand tight, she steeled herself. "We will fight. Together." But just as they dug in their heels, a chilling gust surged around them, carrying whispers that twisted through the shadows, intensifying into blood-curdling shrieks. They were no longer just in danger, they were surrounded. Mommy and something cold shot past them, freezing time as it raised the hair on the back of Lisa's neck. Was it too late to escape this nightmare? Then, in the thickest blackness, that voice taunted them once more. "Let us find out what can be fixed." Together, the depths were deep, and the horror was far from over. What secrets lay in the shadows waiting to be revealed? The shadows seemed to tighten. Each breath Lisa took sharper, drawing stabs of icy air into her lungs. She clenched Ellie's hand tighter, feeling her daughter shiver, skin clammy against her own. "Stay close, don't let go," Lisa urged, her voice low and fierce. She hated how fear clawed at her throat. Hadn't she promised Ellie safety? The laughter, an insidious blend of amusement and malice, gutted her resolve with every chilling echo. "Mommy, I can't see them." Ellie's voice quivered like a fragile thread about to snap. "I know, sweetie. Just listen to me," Lisa whispered, forcing calmness into her tone like a talisman against the coming dread. She let instinct guide her. No more stumbling. She took a step, then another, deciding to head toward the faintest flicker of movement just beyond her reach. With each step, the air grew thicker. The darkness pressed in, squeezing against her sides like hands vying for a grip. A flash flared briefly, a silhouette darted just out of her view. Something wasn't right. "Mommy, I feel it," Ellie cried, her grip suddenly tightening on Lisa's hand. Her wide eyes now filled with something deeper than fear. No, it was raw survival instinct. "What do you feel? Tell me," Lisa urged, panic creeping in. There was a momentary pause before Ellie uttered what sent shivers down Lisa's spine. "Hunger." Before she could react, a reverberating growl filled the space, pooling in the corners of the shadowed room. It slithered around them like smoke, thick and taunting. Was it just another trick of the mirage? Or was there something truly waiting in the dark? "Please just go away," Lisa yelled into the void, desperate. "We're not afraid of you." Felt like a lie, but she didn't care. The laughter morphed into something sobering, a gurgling sound, wet and malicious, echoed back at her. She steeled herself, recalling every step they'd taken leading into this torturous nightmare. It could end here or it could turn against them in moments. "Ellie, hold on tight," she commanded, shifting into a low crouch. "We're getting out. Together." "Mom!" Suddenly, a rush of cold air swept past them, propelling whispers that grazed Lisa's neck like icy fingers. "Come play." The voice slithered around her ears. She tasted the rancid breath of something ancient. "Move!" She shouted, taking off in the only direction she felt comfortable, dragging Ellie with her. The floor was slick underfoot, every step a fragile dance on the edge of despair. The guttural laughs warped into a dozen overlapping voices, a symphony of madness chasing them down. Each shadow appeared to elongate, clawing for them, reaching out with unsettling fingers. Lisa's pulses raced. Her blood thudded in her ears. The dim outline of a door flickered into her periphery, a faint promise of liberty. Hope ignited. Was it false? She pushed, pulling Ellie along, praying relentlessly. But the presence drew closer, staccato breaths like nails upon her consciousness. You shouldn't have come here. Lisa's heart dropped. She could almost feel the darkness creeping behind her, ready to devour the taste of hope that lingered in the air. Just a door. Just a step. Mommy! Ellie cried, panic rising like a tide. Without warning, a figure darted toward them from the shadows. The eyes were hollow, lucent like glass shards. Words tumbled from its mouth, not human, forming grotesque shapes that wormed into Lisa's mind. Join us. She slammed her hand on the door with her free hand, each bang vibrating through her body like a battle cry against the inevitable. Open, open. But it wouldn't budge. Terror consumed her, the kind that could only thrive in the deepest corners of the mind. But then she heard it, a quiet chant, rhythmic and pulse-like, ticking louder in her ears. Let us find out what can be fixed. Together, the laughter crescendoed. Shadows enveloped them like a cloak, threatening to eclipse everything she held close. Mommy! And then the door swung open, revealing a blinding light. But would it be a sanctuary or a trap? Lisa held Ellie tight, whispering a prayer into the void. 1, 2, 3. They plunged through the threshold, tumbling into the embrace of the unknown. What awaited beyond the doorway? Would they find safety or plunge deeper into darkness? Light poured over them, bright and raw, but it flickered oddly, casting distorted shapes that danced at the edges of their vision. As Lisa and Ellie stumbled forward, the light stung, filling Lisa's eyes with confusion. They fell onto a hard surface, cold, unyielding. Lisa felt the weight of their descent and the loud thud of Ellie's small frame beside her. Mommy, where are we? Ellie groaned, the fear wafting off her like smoke. Lisa shook her head, blinking furiously to regain her focus. Just a moment, Ellie. We need to figure this out. The light twisted and unwound, revealing a long corridor stretching far beyond their sight. It was lined with doors, all closed, 100 opportunities for escape or entrapment. A low humming filled the air, a droning sound, vibrating deep in Lisa's chest, urging them to move. Can we go back? Ellie whimpered, her fingers trembling in Lisa's grip. No, we have to go forward. Each heartbeat shattered the silence around them, laced with tension as they rose. The air thickened like fog, the scent of mildew and decay wrapping around them. Shadows pooled on the ground, mocking their tenuous hope. Lisa scanned their options, choosing the first door on the left, forcing it open. The hinges creaked ominously, like a spell being broken. Inside lay a room flooded in the same eerie light, the walls adorned with mirrors. She stepped inside, pulling Ellie close, hearts pounding in rhythm against the impending dread. The air felt heavier here, saturated with silence that screamed. Look, Mommy. Ellie pointed toward the mirrors. They were all wrong reflections, didn't just reflect but showed grotesque, distorted images of themselves. Ripped apart, fragmented. Their faces twisted in terror, each version pulled from their essence, straining against the glass. Don't look. Don't look. Lisa pulled Ellie away, fierce urgency driving her. But her daughter couldn't tear her gaze away. Mommy, I'm scared. Ellie's eyes widened, and as if drawn by a puppeteer, she stepped closer to the nearest reflection herself, but with hollow eyes and a wicked grin, so unlike the Ellie Lisa knew. Fear curled in Lisa's stomach like a poisonous snake. No. She lunged forward, grasping Ellie's arm, dragging her back. That thing in the glass didn't reflect their love nor the warmth of their bond. It was venomous and dark. What if it wants us? Ellie's voice cracked like glass, her innocent face searching Lisa's for understanding. The air trembled with unspoken words, thrumming like an ancient heartbeat louder than her own fear. A whisper snaked its way through the room. They're lost, they want to join them. No, we're not lost. Lisa shouted, her instincts screaming. In a frenzy, she guided Ellie toward the door again. Just as they reached for the handle, the mirrors vibrated, sending a low hum rippling through the air. Dozens of faces morphed in the reflecting glass, angry, pleading, beckoning. They flattened against the surface, fingers reaching out like vines twisting around a dying tree. "Mommy, they're crying." "Oh God," Lisa gasped, the reality crashing into her. Each cry dug into her heart, clawing at her resolve. "Keep moving." She pulled Ellie back into the hall just as a crack echoed through the mirrors, a promise that something within was beginning to break free. The hallway began to pulse, shadows sliding across the walls like waves, the doors whispering now. What were they calling for? Why did she feel that each door was another trap disguised as hope? They hurried past doors that seemed to hold their breath, anticipating another victim. But behind one, sounds emerged, guttural growls mingled with the echoes of laughter, and Lisa felt her stomach churn. "Please, let us not open those," Ellie gasped. "Just a little longer," Lisa breathed, pushing down the rising dread. The laughter grew, spiraling into a frenzy, echoing through the hall and wrapping around them like a noose. Lisa's pulse raced as the hum became a roar, vibrating the very floor beneath their feet. This place was alive. "Mommy!" Ellie cried out as the shadows surged, and with them, a claw, a real claw, emerging from the darkness, grasping for them. Lisa hesitated only a moment as she turned, speeding down the corridor, every instinct screaming to flee. Couldn't he end here? Not like this. They had to escape. They needed to find the light before whatever hunted them swallowed them whole. With every ounce of strength, they ran, hearts pounding, breath like fire. Could they survive what was closing in behind them? The shadows were relentless, just behind, hungry for them. But as Lisa's foot hit the polished floor, a flash caught her eye. Another door. Would it lead to safety or death? Despair clawed at her throat as echoes filled her senses. The laughter followed, mingling with a chant that whispered, "Join us in the dark." Determined, Lisa grabbed Ellie's hand. "Hold on tight. 1, 2, 3. They flung themselves forward. What waited on the other side? The door swung open with a violent jolt, slamming against the wall, revealing a small, dimly lit room. The light flickered like a dying star, casting an unsettling glow over the cramped space. On the floor, a patch of deep crimson stained the concrete, as if a macabre painting had been splattered onto it. Lisa's heart raced as she pulled Ellie inside, shutting the door behind them with a decisive thud. The air felt charged, crackling with something ominous. Ellie pressed against Lisa, clenching her small hand as if it were a lifeline. What is this place?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know," Lisa admitted, scanning the room with widened eyes. Shadows twisted in every corner, whispering unspeakable secrets. A rusted metal chair sat alone in the center, bolted to the ground. It looked like an interrogation room, but the walls held smudged handprints stretching upward, like desperate souls reaching for salvation. The humming had faded into an eerie silence. Only their breaths echoed back, heavy and filled with dread. "Do you think we're safe?" Ellie asked, glancing over at her mother. "Safe as we can be," Lisa trailed off, her gut tightening. The realization hit her hard. This room felt like a cage. Whatever was creeping through the corridors wouldn't rest until it found them. Suddenly, a loud bang reverberated from the hallway. The door rattled, shaking with a ferocity that made Lisa's heart skip. "Stay put," she urged, nudging Ellie toward the corner. "I'll check." But before she could take a step, the door burst open, splintering wood flying across the room. From the darkness emerged a creature, tall with elongated limbs, its skin glimmering like oil beneath the dim light. Hollow eyes fixed on Lisa and Ellie, void of warmth, filled only with hunger. "Run!" It echoed through the room as Lisa yanked Ellie toward a shabby, wooden wardrobe pushed against the wall. They dove inside, the musty smell of mothballs choking them as they huddled close together, hearts thundering. The creature lumbered closer, its claws clicking against the concrete, each sound a countdown to their demise. Through the cracked doors of the wardrobe, they watched it slowly circle the room, as if savoring the moment, waiting for the thrill of the hunt to escalate. If it finds us, what will happen? Ellie's voice was quiet, trembling with fear. Lisa blinked back tears, fighting the rising tide of despair. I won't let that happen. Promise. The creature paused, its head tilting in confusion. A guttural sound emanated from deep inside its throat, almost like laughter. It seemed to sense their fear, feeding off it like a parasite. Lisa held her breath, praying they wouldn't make a sound. And then, in an instant, it lunged toward the wardrobe. The wood creaked heavily beneath its weight as it grabbed the door and yanked it open. No! Lisa screamed, pushing Ellie deeper into the corner, shielding her with her body as the creature stared, its mouth curling into a grotesque grin. Ellie gasped, eyes wide, and Lisa felt her heart drop. The light flickered again, casting long shadows that danced menacingly, threatening to take her girl. In that moment of impending horror, a distant sound pierced the thick air, a faint melody, sweet yet chilling. The creature paused, its attention diverted. Lisa's heart raced again, a flicker of hope igniting within her chest. Maybe it was a chance. Ellie, listen, Lisa whispered, urging her to stay quiet. The creature hesitated, its focus now on the melody pulling at it like a siren-esque call. What do we do? Follow the sound. With a swift motion, they pushed past the creature and darted into the hallway, moving fast. The hum of the haunted melody grew louder, beckoning them forward. Every instinct screamed they had to find it. They needed to escape. But as they ran, each corner seemed to twist and turn, leading them deeper into shadows. The laughter returned echoing, taunting as they stumbled into a vast room, throwing them onto their knees. The sight that met them stole their breath, a collage of abandoned souls, each caught in the clutches of mirrors and shadowed faces, their cries intermingling with the troubling tune. What had they stumbled into? Hope felt like a laugh at the back of their throats, suffocating. Mommy, I don't like this, Ellie whimpered, clutching her mother. Me neither, but we can't stop now, Lisa murmured, her eyes darting around. The melody grew louder, calling them closer to the center where the shadows writhed and danced as if they had a life of their own. But would this lead to freedom, or another trap designed to ensnare them forever? As Lisa reached toward the source, the room trembled. The voices swelled into a deafening roar, and a wave of panic washed over her. Shadows lunged from every direction, hungry, desperate. What awaited them next? Would they find salvation or succumb to the darkness swirling around them? Lisa's grip tightened around Ellie's hand as they prepared for what lay ahead, terrified of the choices before them. Was there any light left to find here? The shadows converged, a swirling tempest of despair and anguish spiraling around Lisa and Ellie. Lisa's heart hammered painfully against her ribs, each beat a frantic prayer for escape. The melody sang louder, piercing through the haze of fear, and for a moment, it felt like a beacon guiding them away from the encroaching darkness. Stay close, Lisa urged, pulling Ellie along as the oppressive presence of the room bore down on them. A cacophony of whispering voices surrounded them, each one twisted, echoing agony and terror. No one had ever left this place, and they could feel it, the weight of countless lost souls pressing in from all sides. Inescapable. The melody that had beckoned them grew almost tangible, vibrating the air around them. Lisa scanned the chaotic shadows dancing chaotically and said, "We need to find where the sound is coming from. Maybe it will lead us out." As they moved, the shadows solidified, morphing into grotesque forms that reached out with clawed hands, groaning and moaning in despair. The walls seemed to vibrate with every anguished cry, as if the building itself was alive, feeding off their fear. "Mommy, they're looking at us," Ellie squeaked, her eyes wide with terror. Lisa turned just in time to see a pair of hollow eyes emerging from the darkness, followed by a figure that stretched impossibly tall, its mouth long and jagged like a gash in flesh. "Run!" Lisa shouted, her voice cracking, and they sprinted deeper into the room. The chilling melody urged them forward, wrapping around their thoughts until it was all-consuming, drowning out the phantoms wailing for their attention. Suddenly, a wall of mirrors emerged ahead, each reflecting twisted versions of themselves, sickening smiles and eyes that mocked their plight. "Stop!" Ellie cried, yanking on Lisa's hand. "I don't want to see." "No, we have to keep moving." Lisa tugged Ellie past the mirrors, their reflections haunting them, screaming silently. Each step felt heavier, the shadows stretching out and pulling at their heels, clawing for their essence. The orchestral wailing reached a fever pitch, blending confusion and sorrow into something hypnotic. It surged through their veins, pressing them toward the center of the room, where an ethereal light flickered, promising salvation. But as they approached, the melodic tones shifted, twisting into an ominous cacophony that echoed a warning. "Don't touch it," Ellie shrieked, but Lisa felt herself drawn to the source as if it were a part of her. The light danced before her, flickering like a candle caught in a draft. "No, we can't." Yet, just as she reached for it, the shadows darkened, swallowing the light in a shroud of black hatred. "You will never leave," a voice hissed from the darkness, reverberating through the room. Lisa froze. The walls shivered, a heartbeat thrumming beneath her feet, primal and monstrous. The shadows surged, a pulsating mass that pressed against them from every angle, pushing and pulling. As Lisa's knees buckled, she felt the grip of terror close around her throat. "Mommy!" Ellie cried, her voice trembling as she tugged at Lisa's arm. Lisa blinked, shaking free of the haze. "No, we don't give up," she said fiercely, dragging Ellie in the opposite direction of the dark mass squeezing around them. But as they barreled toward the only remaining exit, a torrent of shadows surged forward, forming a wall that rose impossibly high. It hissed, the voices merging into a singular growl that promised eternal torment. A sentence without trial. They were trapped. Just as despair was set to claim them, the ground beneath their feet trembled violently, and an unearthly roar echoed through the chamber, a sound that made the air itself shudder. "What now?" Ellie whimpered, eyes wide. Lisa clenched her jaw, fighting the rising tide of fear and uncertainty. "We need to break through. We can do it." But as the creature's roar faded and the shadows shifted once more, the faint melody changed into a dissonant echo that filled the room with dread. Would they fight through the darkness, or would they be consumed by the horrors lurking just beyond the veil? With one last desperate push, they rushed toward the overwhelming darkness, and Lisa felt a sliver of hope, one final attempt at freedom. But at what cost? What awaited them on the other side? Would they find a way out, or was it already too late? The shadows swarmed around Lisa and Ellie as they pushed forward, hearts pounding with every step. The music shifted, twisting into something haunting and dissonant. But Lisa clung to the fragile thread of hope that came with each echo, unwavering determination fueling her resolve. "Hold on, Ellie. We're almost there." Just when despair threatened to numb them, a brilliant light broke through the darkness, felt alive, calling them home. Lisa's eyes widened at the sight of an open door glowing at the end of a long corridor, illuminating the encroaching shadows. "That's it," she cried, fear mixing with a newfound urgency. "We can escape." But as they raced toward it, the voices intensified, a chaotic symphony of anger and sadness, intertwining with their pulse. "No, you don't belong here," echoed from the walls, almost as if they were alive, desperate to keep mother and daughter trapped in this stifling nightmare, suffocated by grief and anguish. Ellie's grip tightened around her hand. "Mommy, don't let them take us. I won't let anything happen to you. I promise," Lisa shouted, finding strength in her daughter's fear. They plunged forward, weaving through the darkness as shadows reached out to clutch at their ankles, whispering sharp words of betrayal. Each step felt monumental as they surged toward the door, the light almost palpable now, spilling forth like a waterfall cascading from the heavens. A low growl erupted behind them, sinister and hungry. The creature was gaining, prowling just behind their footsteps. The air thickened with the taste of terror, but rage ignited within Lisa. "Not now," she yelled, refusing to yield to the menacing shadows. The door creaked ominously as they rushed toward it. "Mommy," Ellie pleaded, her eyes darting back. "Trust me," Lisa urged. "Just a little further." Then, silence enveloped them, wrapping around them like a thick fog. The shadows paused, holding their breath as if time itself had stopped. Lisa glanced back just in time to see the dark mass coiling with intent, ready to pounce. "Go, now," she cried, surging forward toward the light and shoving Ellie ahead of her. With one final push, they burst through the door, stumbling into a radiant expanse. The light washed over them, illuminating everything in warm hues of gold and vibrant beams. Lisa blinked, momentarily blinded, before managing to focus on the space around them. They were in a vast field, the air clear and rich with the scent of wildflowers. "Where are we?" Ellie blinked around in awe, confusion washing over her. "I don't know," Lisa breathed, relief flooding her chest. "But it's beautiful." They stood in a landscape that seemed touched by magic. Shadows retreated from their sight, evaporating into the open sky. "We did it," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Mommy," Ellie squealed, bouncing on her feet. "We're safe." But just as Lisa began to breathe again, a flicker of doubt whispered in her mind, echoing the voices from behind. Had they really escaped? Or was this just another trick? "Ellie, we look," Ellie shouted, pointing into the distance. Lisa followed her gaze to see a figure standing at the edge of the field, staring down at them. Anxiety crawled back into Lisa's stomach, its familiar weight forcing her to hold Ellie closer. The figure took a step forward, trembling under the sunlight, but Lisa's heart sank. It was the creature, contorted and grotesque. It released a low growl, the voices twining back to life, furious and desperate. Lisa steeled her resolve, ready to protect Ellie once more. "We have to keep moving," she insisted quietly, urging Ellie to step further away from the growing darkness. In that moment, something inside Lisa stirred. A profound understanding of fear became clear. It had no power here, not in the sanctuary of this infallible light. "Stay behind me," she commanded, fists clenching with determination. "We won't let it take us again." With a rush of energy, she charged toward the creature, defiance burning fiercely in her heart. "You don't own us," she yelled. The creature paused, an incensed growl momentarily silencing the cacophony around them. Lisa felt every ounce of fear and anger flow through her as she shouted the truth of her spirit, words pouring out like thunder. "You can't have us." Then, a flash filled the air where their voices collided. The creature reared back, as if struck by lightning, and within an eruption of turmoil, it dissolved into a cloud of shadows and despair. The wailing mouths fell silent. The light brightened, flooding the field entirely, swallowing the remnants of the darkness. They fought back. Together, Ellie tugged at her hand. "Mommy, it's gone. We did it." She spun in circles, laughing with joy, eyes sparkling with the freedom they had achieved. Lisa dropped to her knees, hugging Ellie tightly, skin prickling with relief and love. "Yes, sweetheart," she murmured, wrapping her arms around her. "We are free." In that moment, surrounded by warmth and the sweet scent of flowers, the world felt untouched again. They belonged here, in this beautiful light where hope flourished and shadows had no dominion. "Let us go home," Lisa whispered, knowing they had left the nightmare behind, but also understanding it would forever mark their journey. And at last, as they walked hand in hand into the horizon, she truly felt at peace, ready to embrace the beautiful moments ahead. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to help feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is what drives us forward. Show how dedicated of a fan you are.